Hey guys, I'm back. It is the middle of the night. I can't sleep, so I figured might as well make a video. So I'm actually visiting some family right now. I'm at my mother's house in New York. I forgot that it's cold in the winter up north, huh? Yeah, so doing everything I can to hide from that because I'm a little girl when it comes to cold weather, actually. So I was having a conversation a little while ago with a fellow YouTuber. It started off with just asking a quick question and then, shooting things back and forth. And so the topic of discontinued Benchmades came up, and which ones were really popular versus which ones were just not, and all sorts of stuff about the ones that you can't buy anymore. And so the idea was thrown around to talk about, not just the newest and fanciest, but let's look at some of the older ones that maybe they don't make anymore. Maybe they weren't the best sellers. They weren't the most popular. But in general, this is DocP's pick of favorite. I don't want to say top because I'm not rating them in terms of quality or anything like that. But these are just my personal favorites, and I'll tell you why as we go through them. So in really, again, no particular order. Let's start with Benchmade 853, which actually, the Benchmade 853 is still in production today. It's the Tanto bladed barrage. But this particular one is the Benchmade 853 WARN, which was put out just, in a little bit. I won't say limited because it's not like the blades are numbered. But they partnered up with WARN to make these specific ones. So you have the WARN logo on the blade, and on the other side you have the little bit of a non-standard Benchmade deal going on. What's different about these ones is, number one, I like the color scheme. You've got your red backspacer. These are G10 scales before the G10 scales really became popular on Griptilians and on barrages. So I don't use this very often, because I can't replace it if anything happens to it. But I like it. I like the feel of it. I like it better. I like the extra little bit of weight better than a standard barrage. D2 blade, so some really tough, rugged carbon steel there instead of the 154 cm that the standard barrages come in. And I know now on the Benchmade Custom Knife Builder you can have these made with other blade steels if you want, but this is just one that I've always really liked. And I mean, sure, you could find that on eBay or something right now. Other than that, it's not any different than a standard barrage an 853. So we're going to look at, there's two button openers or automatics on my little list here. So this is the 3550 Pardue automatic. This is kind of an old Benchmade design. Now there's a new version of this. If you look up the Benchmade Stimulus, it is kind of like a modernized version of this knife. This one is really old, and you'll see when I open the blade. I actually Duracoated the aluminum scales on this because they were just so old and beat up. This is a relatively small knife. It's got kind of a slow opening. I have cleaned this. I have tuned it. It's just old. So it's not the fastest opening blade I have, obviously. And if you can see, this thing's gotten a lot of use. So it's very lightweight. Doesn't have a lot of options for the clip. It does have the Benchmade automatic safety, which is good to keep it from closing or opening without you wanting it to. Old knife, ATS 34 steel. But this has served me pretty well. What I did on the handle here, that was all cosmetic. It worked just fine without it. But for times where you want a less obtrusive, smaller blade, but you want your push button. Actually, it's been working better than it is right now. I don't know if the cold has anything to do with it, but it's pretty cold in here because my mother turns all the heat off at night. But I do like this one, and like as a secondary knife or just in a pack or a pouch or something, it's a nice choice. It's a nice choice. So I want to pick up the Stimulus, and if you take a look at the Stimulus online, you'll see some differences in the blade design, slight differences in the handle design. But if you can grab one of these, and you can relatively cheap on eBay, I'd say it's worth it. So next we're going to go way back in the Benchmade line. The second oldest knife here. So going back earlier or to mid-90s, the Benchmade 975. So anybody want to take a guess at what this looks like to you. If you said an Emerson CQC-7, you'd be right, because the Benchmade 975 was a collaboration between Emerson and Benchmade to kind of mass produce the CQC-7 under the Benchmade name. You'll notice it doesn't have the Emerson wave, all right, which not all CQC-7s have. I have a CQC-7 at home, and this blade is actually slightly longer than the standard CQC-7 blade. This also came out in ATS-34. I got this particular one in a trade a long time ago with a good guy. Don't really communicate with him anymore, but when I got this, it was very rusty. It was very rough. I did a lot of work reconditioning this, but as a testament to it, it is still incredibly smooth, rock solid lockup, no blade play at all. Love this knife. It is sturdy, it is solid. You can see how the G10 has worn down. The clip really shows the wear, but you know, I could still carry this around today. And I'll say it again, I say it all the time, ATS-34 is not the fanciest steel out there, but it's not a bad steel, right? It was rusted because I think it was just kind of put away and forgot about. But since I cleaned it and reconditioned it, I'm sorry for the autofocus not working very well tonight. It has just held up perfectly. So this is really cool, especially since, you know, I have a CQC-7, an actual Emerson to compare it to. It's a really nicely done knife. Now, one thing I will highlight is that the lockup over time has gotten really late. Probably starts there, like on a new knife, but this lockup is almost 100%. But it holds the knife perfectly solid. No problems whatsoever. So you can find these now and then on eBay too, and if you get your hands on one, it's pretty good value. So what we're going to look at next was never one of Benchmade's most popular knives, but being a big fan of the reverse Tonto blade shape, I really like this. This is the 923 Switchback. There was also a 921, which had more of a drop point blade, and this one was kind of Taurus branded, just like the WARN branded one. These were put out in a limited run, so it says 1 of 100 of 1,000. Sorry, but they all say that because they are all 1 of 1,000. Standard 154 cm steel. It's basically the size with a little less weight than the Benchmade 940. So cool. I like that a lot. Coated, not anodized, aluminum handles. Just a little bit of fanciness in it, but you know, nothing too special. Left or right side clip. What makes the Switchback its gimmickiness was that it has this secondary blade in the handle. Now, why do you need that? I don't know. I've never actually carried this knife with me because I have a 940 that I carry and it's roughly the same size. But for just something a little bit different, this is a good knife. I like it, and you can find them pretty cheap online. I never, even when I like take it out just to kind of play with it in the house and stuff, I never do much with that other blade. Most of them come in a blue color, which is nice, but you know, it's very smooth. You can see the opening action. It's a quiet knife too, because everything's nice and coated. But the 923 or 921, if you can get it, is a pretty good knife too, especially if you're into something small, slim, and lightweight. Okay. We're gonna look at two knives together because they're almost the same knife. The 875 Sentinel and the 880 Darkstar. These are both Elishewitz designs, who hasn't done anything for Benchmade lately, but has done a lot before. I have always liked the look and feel of this knife. So you've got your anodized blue with titanium frame with these nice coated black aluminum overlays there. Nice spear point blade. I'm actually not sure what kind of steel this is, to tell you the truth. I lucked into this one. So in 2012-ish, Benchmade did a kind of a quick sale on their website. They had a bunch of old stuff in stock, and they listed everything that was there, and you could kind of send an email for which ones you were interested in buying. I had like 6 knives on my list. But they did kind of a little lottery, so they emailed me back and said, "Hey, you can have the 875 if you want it, And I said, cool, I want the 875. So it brand new, you know, even though it was well out of production. It's been out of production for a long time. I managed to get my hands on this one. I just really like the look and the feel of it. And it is still, I'm pretty sure they're ATS 34. But I have carried this around. I've cut with it a little bit, and it is, you know, you can see a little bit of use on the blade. You'd never know that it was not a new production knife. Up on it is very, very light, but still, there's no stickiness, nice and smooth, good sound, nice action. It's just a really good knife. So they took the 875, and we'll put that down right here, and they kind of carried the design over into two more, the Darkstar and the Blue Star. I don't have a Blue Star, but I have the 880 Darkstar, which is essentially just kind of a aesthetically different Sentinel. So it's got the G10 overlays on the gold anodized frame. It's got that little star cut out there. This one has a black blade. I don't know if they all do. This is a first production one. I got this, I think, from Arizona Customs, or I'm not entirely sure. But if you take a look at the two of them together, you can see they are essentially the exact same knife. Blades are really the same. It's just color scheme and a little bit of materials that's different. The Blue Star is exactly like the Darkstar, except it's got the blue anodized, just like the Sentinel. But these are very practical, again, very lightweight, kind of cool, you know, they're flashy looking. I really like them. And, you know, because Benchmade, everything has a lifetime warranty, even if you got your hands on one of these, as long as you didn't do anything really stupid with it, you know, it'd still be under warranty. Interesting little lanyard placement, so you'd thread your lanyard through there if you wanted to carry a lanyard. But, you know, these both were brand new when I got them. They just happened to be sitting around in stock somewhere. I have two other Sentinels, though. They're both disassembled right now. Old, used, and abused. And I have carried them extensively because they are still really solidly designed knives, even though Benchmade doesn't make them anymore. They're really, really good knives. So these definitely I recommend. And I looked on eBay. I saw some Darkstars and some Blue Stars. I didn't see any Sentinels, but I'm sure, you know, you can find them if you want them. So one of my, I don't want to say all-time favorite Benchmade blades, but certainly I have the most experience carrying these. This is the 912. So the 912 Nitrous Stryker is kind of an outgrowth of the 910 Stryker. The big difference is this has the nitrous spring assist system, which is very efficient. Now you take a look at this blade. This is the third one of these that I've had, and I'm not saying I've had three because they're bad. I'm saying this has been Air Force issue for deployments, among other designs, but I've had three of them issued. And so when you're issued a knife and they intend for you to use it, you tend to use the shit out of it. But this has held up. The point is, it has held up. You guys have seen kind of the custom work that I did on my first 912, which I was issued in 2003, maybe? I don't know. I'll put a little link over here so you can see kind of the custom work I did on that, just to mess around. This was originally a Tonto blade. It has been sharpened and used. It's basically got the shape of a drop point now. But it's still, I mean, look at the action. It is still, after all the use it's gotten, however old it is, lightning fast. This is another carbon steel blade. I don't know if you can see the D2 there, but D2 steel. The way the nitrous system works, I don't know if they have a lot of knives that use this anymore. There are these two torsion bars in there. And when you fold the blade, it pushes the spring up and it locks into place, and that's what gives you your spring assist. It is so easy, if you live in a place where that's illegal, to turn this into just a conventional knife. See that stop pin there? All you've got to do is disassemble this, take out that stop pin, and then the blade swings freely between those two bars, and it doesn't push the springs at all. So it operates just as a regular old manual knife, and it is just as smooth, not quite as fast because you don't have the assist there, but just as smooth opening without the springs as with. So this is kind of a classic Benchmade design. You can see how used this is, but look at that lockup. Look how late it is, and there's still zero blade play in this at all. Great knife. So I haven't used this in a while just because, man, this old girl, she's deserved a break. I have another one in my case right now that is slightly more beat up than this, and then the one that I customized. But I'll always love the 912 Stryker. It's such a good knife that they reintroduced it a couple years ago, like a brand new kind of improved design. I don't have one of the newer ones. I'm not sure if they're even still selling the newer ones, but these you can definitely find all over the place. Used, you can find them new in the package still. This is an awesome knife. Next one we're going to talk about also was issued. So this is the Benchmade 9050. When I first transitioned from the Army into the Air Force, I was lucky enough to get one of these. They just had one around. So when I first came into the Air Force, I wanted to be pararescue at PJ, and if you know what that is, great, and if you don't, you can ask me and I'll tell you. I ended up breaking my leg, so I'm not a PJ today, but I got the amazing opportunity to train up with a PJ unit at Patrick Air Force Base, and they had a number of these that they issued to their loadmasters and all their PJs, and I got one, which is great. Now, this is not that one. That one was stolen from me because I lent it to a girl, and she, you know, like sometimes you give a girl a sweater or a flannel shirt or something, you never see it again? Yeah. So I let her use it, and I never saw it again. So this is a replacement. But the 9050 is one of the best button openers I've ever had. I love the design. It's all aluminum, so a little bit of weight, but not too bad. Clip is tip up or tip down, but you can't do left and right. Has a lock on it, right? So you're not going to accidentally press that button and close it, and you're not accidentally going to open it if it's in your pocket. Very nice drop point blade. 154 cm steel, so nothing too fancy, but it's just good enough. It really is. This has been one of the more popular military issued Benchmade knives for a really long time. So popular, in fact, that rather than just discontinuing this, so the 9050 is discontinued, and I don't have my 9051 here, but they made the 9051, which kind of beefs it up a little bit, makes it a little bit easier to use, larger button there with a bigger cutout, so if you've got gloves, you can do the clip left, right, or up, down. It's also got a glass breaker on there. Or you can also use it as a less than lethal bop you in the temple and really cause you a lot of pain. But to me, I still love the original 9050. This is, in fact, an updated version of their, I want to say it's the 9000S, which is an old Benchmade button opener. I had one. Let me tell you how popular they used to be. I traded one with a guy at a gun store. I got myself a used AR-15 out of it. I had a brand new in-boxman condition 9000. This is a fantastic knife, though. I like it. I like it better than the 9051, personally. So you can find one of these, you know, again, eBay or you know, Arizona, or one of those, you know, pawn shops, wherever. If you live near an Air Force base, you'll probably have one of these in a pawn shop somewhere. It's a great knife. Kind of a bitch to clean, to take out and rewrap the spring and everything, but love it. So this next one is another one that was not very popular, but I always liked it. This is the this is the 670 Apparition. This one, I guess, was made with a little bit more style to it, but I think it's the spring system that really turned people off to it. So these are plastic, not G10, and you can see how they're kind of sculpted there. Nice, buffed out stainless steel bolsters. Only one clip position. It's 154 cm. Really nice spring assist, and it's an Osborne design. You know how much I love Osborne. Decent blade. I mean, I guess, I don't know. I didn't have a problem with it. But this spring system, people really didn't like, and I don't know why. I guess it was an overall, the look of the knife. It was definitely not a very popular Benchmade model. But this one was designed for you to be able to very easily take that spring out and use it as a manual knife. I don't know if you can see the little Allen head screw there, but if you remove that screw, you can actually remove the spring bar that's inside of there. And it becomes just a manual knife for whatever reason, legalities of where you live, or you just don't like it, or whatever. The spring is really strong. It's kind of hard to describe if you can't feel it, but it snaps out with a good deal of authority there. It's got a little rattle in it from that spring in there. It's not the blade, okay? It's the spring and the mechanics inside there. Maybe that's something about it too. I always like the style of this though. I thought it looked kind of like the 581 Barrage. Is it the 581? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I think it's the 581. But anyway, there's a... I don't have it here, but there's a Barrage with the same kind of black G10 scale and then polished stainless steel bolsters. I like that look. It is a little bit heavy. I think the blade is great. I mean, I have no problem with the blade at all. Interesting thumb stud on one side only, kind of like a Sabenza 21. But you can find these very easily on eBay. I know because I looked, you know, before I made the video. I think it's worth having. You can judge for yourself. But people, from what I've been reading on a lot of the forums, hate this knife. I like it. Okay, coming up next, one of my all-time absolute favorites. I mean, absolute favorite Benchmades ever. So this is a Mike Snoddy. This is the 425 600 Gravitator. Now, this is a standard 425 Gravitator that does not have the wood scale on the carbon fiber. This is kind of like the pimped up edition. Not quite a gold class, but rumor has it, and I can't confirm it, that this, once upon a time, this actual knife belonged to Tough Thumbs. I don't know. I suppose it's pretty easy if I just watch through his videos. It's supposed to be in one of his videos somewhere, and you can, like, look at the blade number. But regardless, I love this knife. It is such a badass Wharncliffe blade. I mean, it's just, it looks nasty and frightening. It's got this really nice jimping that goes all the way up. Very classy look with carbon fiber and actual wood scales there. These were limited to 300 pieces, so I'm happy to have that. I would have hoped that they would have used some slightly better blade steel than 154 cm, but for a knife that I don't really use because I just kind of, it's a collection queen, it doesn't even matter. Not a big fan of the lock there. Not a lot to get your thumb on, but it's enough. I mean, this is a beautiful design. It just looks awesome. It's very unique looking. It's one of my favorite Benchmades of all time. And if I had a 425, a regular 425, I'd carry it often. But I don't. So the 425 600 though, I've seen some of these on eBay, and I've seen some regular 425s also. It's just, you got to get used to it. It's got a different feel because it thins down so much towards the end there, but it's very nice knife. Super nice knife. Now let's go way back to the early days of Benchmade. We're going to look at the model 505 Monarch. Now, first of all, you'll notice that on the Benchmade butterfly there, it's got the old Bali Song logo. That's how you know this is an old Benchmade. It's still got the Benchmade name on it, but the old logo said Bali Song because that's kind of the first things they produced were the Bali Songs, butterfly knives. This has a rubbery handle. It's a lockback. You don't see very many lockback Benchmades, but the first initial Monarch series, they were all lockbacks. And there was a whole lot of different Monarchs. I'm lying. There was like 3 different Monarchs, but this one, the 505, happens to be the Skinner blade. And I really like this knife. I like the look of it. It reminds me of like a pirate cutlass, kind of like yar. Yeah. Same thumb disc opener that you saw on the 975 over there. Very comfortable handle though. Now I have not seen the 505, but I've seen some of the other Monarchs on eBay for very reasonable prices with the drop point blade. And that's just all a matter of style, I guess. This one was used when I got it, but that blade is still razor sharp. Whoa, can we see that there? That stamping. Benchmade Knife Company, made in the USA. I got this one with box and everything. It comes with a Velcro pouch. As does, I should mention, some of these other knives too. I think the 9050 came with a pouch, and that's about it. But because this has no clip, you know, it comes with a belt pouch. Never a big fan of lockbacks, but this one I make an exception for, and I like to carry this sometimes just because it's so cool looking. But this is reaching way back in the Benchmade lineup, so I like to take extra good care of it. This is actually the oldest Benchmade I have. Looking at the next Osborne design I have, because you know how much I like Warren Osborne. May he rest in peace. This is the Kulgara. This is the 930. This has kind of been sitting around a little bit, so every once in a while you kind of want to oil your G10 to return that natural looking color to it. This is a very nice blue and black G10. This is also a very small, very lightweight knife with a really cool looking blade. You can sort of see a little bit of family resemblance between the Apparition and the Kulgara there. People like the Kulgara a lot more. Just don't know why. Maybe it's the G10, maybe it's the lighter weight. Really cool finish on the clip there with the liners, like nice anodized job. Has a really nice weight, really nice feel to it. I just really like this this blade. This comes standard with S30V. Come on, focus for me, buddy. Focus. I don't know. The light in here is really weird right now. So it's a little step up from the standard 154 cm, but you know, like all others, super smooth. It's just a really nice looking knife. And these are also available on eBay in quite some numbers and not very expensive. You know, you'd think that it's all discontinued and, you know, they're not making them. It would be a little bit more expensive, but it's not. So it's a unique look, a little bit bigger than a 940, but if you want that kind of that feel, this is a really good choice. And, you know, the blue-black G10 really looks good, especially when you put just a little bit of oil on it, let it sit in there and kind of make that blue color pop. Another Warren Osborne, and this one, you know, I've looked into the history of this for a while. This is the 12800. So, yeah, 5 numbers. Excuse me. This is the Gaucho. I saw a picture of this on the Benchmade website once and fell in love with it. And honestly, I thought it was a much bigger blade at the time. But it's a really cool recurve with a little bit of reverse tanto look to it. It's an M4 blade, limited edition knife. I don't know, something about this just has always called to me. It took me a long time to find one, actually. You know, I got it. It was already long out of production and discontinued. But it's just a really, I love the shape of the blade. Something about it really speaks to me. It's not the standard Benchmade black coating either. It's a very matte black. Let me see if I can kind of show the difference. You can see the difference in the reflection of the light there against the Gravitator. Anodized aluminum scales, and it's got a really super grippy pattern on it. You can do the clip left or right, all black hardware. Just a really cool look. This one is a little tight because I don't use it very often at all. So, you know, it doesn't get the practice that it would have normally. I'm in love with the blade shape. Just it looks cool and nasty and classy all at the same time. So the Gaucho is, you know, if I could, I wish I can get another one of these just so I can carry it around all the time. And the last knife we're going to talk about is kind of a weird one, and let's talk a little bit about Benchmade history. So we're going to talk about the 10200 Ambush. Now, if you think back in Benchmade history, they used to have different product lines. This is before they owned HK or anything like that. So you had the gold class, which we know the gold class is like super fancy, hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Usually one of their other models that they just pimp out themselves, right? Then you have the black class, which is their military law enforcement hard use. The blue class, which is like your sportsman, everyday kind of, you know, high end. And then they had the red class, and the red class was lower end, kind of EDC, not quite the same quality, not bad quality, but the red class was the bottom of their barrel. And they don't even make a red class anymore. But the Ambush here, this was one of their red class knives. And we'll talk about some of the things that make it different. Number one, it's all aluminum. It's a heavy knife. And it's a big blade too. It's a 4-inch blade. You can see right here that the clip mounting is the same, but it's a different clip than you would see on Benchmades today. It's a Mel Pardue design, and you can see a little bit of the Griptilian kind of family lineage in that design. It's got a very unique lock for Benchmade knives. So what makes it kind of unique, though, is that it's made in Taiwan, not the USA. But back then, most of the red class knives were made in Taiwan, not the USA, and it's AUS-8 steel, which is not a common steel for Benchmade to use. But it is a beautiful drop point blade, real big. This locking system is really cool. I don't know what it was called, but it's a little spring-loaded knob, and it just kind of rotates back, and the knife can close. And you can one-hand it. You just pull that back and you can close your blade. You can't kind of flick it the way you can with an axis lock, but you can one-hand it. And what I really like about it is the handle's just real big. So if you're wearing gloves or you just have really big hands, there's plenty to grab onto on here. And the blade has a really nice kind of satiny finish on it there. It's just, it's a good solid workhorse of a knife. It was not one of their more popular models, again being a red class Aus 8 steel, but I'll tell you, if you can find one of these online, I would tell you can't go wrong with this knife. It's not going to be very expensive, even though it's a discontinued Benchmade model. It's super rugged and solid, and it gives you a whole lot of blade to work with there. I don't know if they come serrated or not. I haven't seen one serrated. I really like this knife. I always have. I bought it because it was on sale somewhere online. I can't remember where, in like 2008 or 9, and I just said, "Oh, I've never even heard of that one. Let me grab it." And I got it, and I was thrilled. Came in a blister package too, not even a box, you know. So this is, of all my my favorite discontinued Benchmades, this is the last one, and one of what I think is the best general use Benchmade's made. It's not designed to be particularly fancy, high tech, or made out of top materials, but it is just, it's a pig. It is a workhorse. It gets the job done. So Benchmade Ambush, awesome. I don't know if I'd call it a hard use knife, but for the money you pay, great value for the money that you would pay to have this knife. There you go. I was going to do like my favorite top 10, but there's more than 10 I wanted to talk about. So, by the way, I'm counting these as one knife, since they're essentially the same knife model. So, 13 discontinued Benchmades, DocP's favorites. Most of these are available out there. So, if they're not available, there's a modern version of it, or just keep looking around and you will find one of these. These are just my picks. You know, I'd love to hear in the comments what you guys think. Is there a model that you think I left off of this list that should be included in like the top discontinued Benchmades? Is there one here you particularly like for one reason, or something you don't like, something you hate about the design or the look or whatever? You know, let's start a conversation. Let's talk about it. All right, guys, I just want to get a video done while I'm on the road. Wanted to get one uploaded so y'all don't forget about me and stuff. I'll be home shortly, and we'll do some more cool stuff and get some more work done, get some more giveaways going. But in the meantime, I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll be back in real soon.